people may be curious, John, why you're joining us on a hunting show. And, I'd been noticing off and on throughout the last couple of years that on Instagram that you'll share some posts, whether you're in a tree stand or shooting your bow, or even I think there was one time you were holding a big largemouth bass. You're out on a boat on a lake. And I thought to
Yeah.
myself, we have got to hear the story of John Delony's passion for hunting, fishing, archery. I mean, you name it. So let's just start there, John. How did you get connected to the outdoors? Where's that deep passion come from?
I think number one, my dad was a policeman growing up, and I think he made $19,000 or something when I was a kid. They just didn't pay policemen anything. They still don't, but back then, especially, it was really low. So he always had a second job, whether he was cleaning up the church as a part-time janitor on the weekends or mowing lawns. Well, he had a colleague that also had a part-time job as a taxidermist. And so my dad, as a kid, would take me out, and this is going to sound crazy to your listeners, but we'd go snake hunting. And we would we'd kill poisonous snakes, and he would take them to his colleague, who would turn them into hats and belts and things like that. So and my dad would take me fishing all the time. He wasn't a hunter, but he would take me fishing. So some of my earliest memories are out there with my old man. And it's kind of just in my nervous system. Well, then I got in high school, I was catching snakes with a buddy, and that was kind of a part-time job. We would give them sell them to a local pet store. And, then that led to I like being outdoors and adventures and just being kind of a lunatic. And then I married a woman whose father is on the pro bass circuit. And so I like to fish, like just throwing a catfish line out. My father-in-law is an amazing fisherman. It's kind of staggering. But he was also an avid deer hunter. And so he poked and prodded. I was always in the classroom and always, doing my nerd stuff. And he'd say, "When are you going to go deer hunting?" So finally one year I did. And your listeners will get a kick out of this. The very first time I ever went deer hunting, ever, the first time I ever pulled the trigger on a gun to shoot a deer, I didn't know I didn't know. The first time I shot an 11-point buck, and all I had was my wife's Prius. So we had to put that deer in the back of a Prius. And you want to talk about a confused high school kid at the processor 4 hours away when I said, "Hey, I got a deer out back," and he came around and goes, "Where's the truck?" And I was like, "Nah, it's in the Prius." And so that was my introduction. And then as I've worked in mental health, I've come to believe a couple of things. We don't get outside enough, and getting outside is important. There's a communal aspect. So it's given me, as an adult, it's very hard to make friends as an adult. So when you find common things, like common interests. So I've got a group of guys I have lunch with. We have text threads. We make fun of each other. We talk to each other. We hunt together. That's been an important aspect of it. And then I really think we have a significant disconnection from where our food comes from, our grains and our vegetables and our fruits and our meats. I think we just are a generation removed from that. And so we just think it shows up at the grocery store. And I think there's a disconnect that makes us unhealthy, physically, but way more than that, emotionally and mentally. And so it's been important for me to stay grounded, that when my family eats, an animal gave its life for my family. And it's important for me to teach that to my son. It's important for me to get my blood on my hands and be a part of that. And it makes me appreciate it that much more, and on and on and on and on. So it went from a thing to do with my father-in-law to now it's a thing that is just an important, integral part of me and my family's life.